All right, we have this nice little shell platter, and it's got a little bit of texture to it. So what are we going to do with this now? Let's explore. Howdy, howdy, everyone. This is Clara Lawrence, and I have this nice little platter that I've done, well, tray, I guess. It's kind of a good size for like a key catch or even some jewelry or something like that, or loose change. And I've got a collection of little bitty shells that I have drizzled some resin over it. But as you can hear, there's a lot of texture on this right now. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to put some clear coat of resin on it and build up my layers, because I'm dealing with an art coat. Well, the brand is a Stone Coat Art Coat, but it's an art resin, so it's not a casting resin. So I don't want to do a huge pour where I cover it all up and it's even. I want to do a couple layers. So the first one I'm going to do is just add a little bit of clear and add a little bit of white, just barely a little bit, just so the white can kind of go in between some of the shells and actually accentuate some of the textures. And then the next pour, I'll get it, hopefully it'll be more level, and then I can play with it some more. Excuse me. So let's get set up for that. All right, let's do some resin with this little guy. Now remember, we're just bringing up the layers up little bit by little bit. And that'll help alleviate some bubbles that can get trapped in there. Now, the most ideal way, if you're doing a really thick pour, is to use casting resin. It seems to be moving around pretty good, so that's good. So you can see by the texture, you're still seeing some texture in there. I'm probably going to have to do one more coat. I'm just moving around enough to make sure everything is covered. All right, this is the only part that one shell that's a little high. And I'm not worried about a little platter like this having a couple high points, but if the majority of it's nice and flat and you have a couple of little high points, I think most people can work around it. I mean, this isn't meant to have food served on it or anything like that. So I mean, like throwing a set of keys on there isn't really going to be held back by a shell that's popped up, but that shell's going to be protected by some resin, so that'll be good. All right, so I've got some white paste that is mixed up already, and I'm just going to throw in a couple of lines here and there, and then I'm going to blow them around really good with the heat gun. And that's just again to start moving around the shells. A little bit more interest in that. All right, yeah, I like that. It's very simple, not a lot, and sometimes the white will even get caught up in some of the texture of the shells. So let me bring you guys in for a close-up on this part. See, very simple. Here, wait a minute, let me zoom in. Very simple. You saw I just squiggled in some lines. But see, it starts moving around the shells. Like you can see, let's see if I can get to that. Picks up the high point of that, moving around this shell, moving around that shell. And by doing that, it can also give dimension to the piece. so that when I do another coat, that dimension still stays. Apparently I got a bubble trapped in there in that particular shell, but that's okay. But I really like the movement it does around the shells. So it adds a lot of interest. I could have even done a little bit less white and had it very delicate. But there's a lot to look at here. Okay, I'm gonna hit this with the heat gun after a few minutes, see if I can release some of these extra bubbles, and then put it away to cure. Later. All right, so guys, had a chance to cure. We're gonna add another coat of resin to it. And maybe a little bit of blue, maybe a couple little white lines. Give some kind of resemblance of a current coming in. Heat that up real quick. Oh, I got enough on there. All right. And I don't think I do. It's always a guessing game sometimes with unusual sizes and shapes and stuff. Especially when you go and add other colors of resin. So I always try on the smaller amount or less amount, and then I can always add a little bit more. So I'm doing my normal thing where I put a little bit of resin on there, coat it around, and then I'm going to add my color to it. And remember, resin is self-leveling. So it's going to find the flat area, or it's going to create its own flat area. So it's going to find its own flat area. I did say that, didn't I? Oh my. Okay. So it looks like we got most of our white in here, and a lot of it, the clear is there as far as the initial pour. So I'm going to add a little bit of blue in here and see if I can hit that with the heat gun and kind of disperse it a little bit. And then wherever the natural line is, that's where I'm going to add my white line to it. So that's the general plan right now. And I've got a blue that I've already mixed up, but I added some clear to it. So it's probably going to have multiple different shades of blue in there. In other words, where the blue's not completely mixed up. Now I'm going to go and see if I can just manually kind of spread it around a little bit. And this is the Just Resin inks, which are really pretty colors. And what's really cool about them is you can add literally just a couple drops and tint up your resin to nice, really pretty shades. And you can mix and match them. Mix and match. No, just mix them up. So I wanted to have a soft edge coming this way. And now I'm going to put in a little bit harder line, and then I'm going to blow the air that direction. Or I might actually torch it and see if I can try it that way. Is it gonna, no, it's not going to do it. I'm gonna do both. Okay. Get my paper out of the way so I don't torch my paper by accident, because that would be a mistake. All right. So when using a torch with resin, you probably saw some smoke coming up. Move it quickly. Don't stay in one spot. Let that cool. Cool. Okay. Back. All right. Come on. Let's see if I can encourage this to touch just a little bit. The bringing it back and forth, you're going to end up with some longer striations. And that'll be really, really pretty. All right, I'm gonna bring you guys in for a close-up. I was looking for simple, and that's what I got. So I am happy with this. All right, sorry about the movement. All right, I'm gonna zoom you in. Junk. Do you see how that looks there? Very, very pretty. I'm super happy with that. Now hopefully it's not gonna shift and cover up that little guy. That would be great because it's kind of framing it right now. All right, until tomorrow. Later. So here's the next day on this little guy. It did move a little bit, but it still kept this little guy as a feature, which I kind of like where it surrounds it. So I'm kind of happy with it. What do you guys think? I think it's a nice little piece. Serious amount of depth in this one. I love how you can see the little bit of white going around this little pink guy on the little seashells and stuff. It didn't take a whole lot of white to make that happen. All right, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, but definitely hit the bell to get notified next time I put another video up. Later, y'all.